Well, hello there, friends. Today is Tuesday, July the 6th, 2021, and I thought I'd take you guys out with me to the garden today. It's been a long time since I posted an update, and there is a reason for that. And I will show you some good, some bad, some ugly. This is real gardening, and maybe it will give all of you some tips and tricks or things to avoid if you're planning on starting a no-dig garden like I did. So with further ado, let's go to the garden. So here it is. Sorry if my lens is getting a little steamy, it's really hot here in Maryland. So, for July, the plants are looking just a little skimpy. Let me rub my lens off here. It's hot and steamy. The plants are looking a little skimpy, and I will show you the reason why when we get closer. So I've had some wins and some losses in the garden this year. So let's take a look at my tomatoes. I'm going to be doing some tying up here. They're bigger than what you saw during the last update, and unfortunately my friend that I replanted here on the end, we had a really bad windstorm and it took him out. So I saved him once, wasn't able to save him again. So with tomatoes, you can have a myriad of problems with tomatoes. So I will show you the difference between a healthy tomato and an unhealthy tomato, and we will discuss the reasons for that. So let's go on down the aisle here. This is my black Ethiopian plant, and it looks fantastic. It looks very healthy, very green, very nice looking. Now, if you notice some of these other plants down the row, this is my green zebra, and it's starting to rebound a little bit, but it's much shorter. These are small. Like, this is my pink Berkeley tie-dye, and it is just really puny. The black crim is starting to recover here. So we've got our chocolate sprinkles, which is our cherry. This one looks pretty good. I did pick my first one off of here. It's not quite ripe yet. I picked them when they first start turning because here I have so many squirrels in my yard that if I just let them get totally ripe on the vine, I would not have any tomatoes. So here's my chocolate sprinkles. This does need to be tied up, so I will do that presently. So I use this, it's like tape and you can just rip it off. So let me rip off a piece. I'm gonna have to set you down for a minute. Sorry about that. So basically I'm tying this to the stake here. Sorry y'all, it's just me out here with my phone filming this for you. So I've got some shaky cam work. So I'm gonna go down this row and tie up as I need to. And I think before I told you that I would show you some suckers. Now let me see if I can find a plant. I think I left a sucker on one of these so that I could show you what I was talking about. Yeah, here's a good one. So, well, maybe that's not such a good one for demonstration purposes. Here's one. This is not the healthiest plant, but still have a sucker. So you see, this is the main growing stem of the plant. It should be a lot thicker than this at this phase of the game. And I will tell you what's going on with it. But anyway, so this is the main stem here. And you see this branch is coming off. Now if you see here, remember I said the armpit? You see here, these two guys right here, these are suckers. And for me, I want to take these off because I want to keep this to one plant, so I'm going to take them off. But if you see down inside, they're just going to go on making more leaves. And you could, if you wanted to let this grow a little bit, you could put it in some water, root it, and have another plant. These actually look pretty good, not sick. So this plant is an example of a plant that does not look so hot. And unfortunately over here, my Black Beauty does not look so hot either. And I do not know, it may be a virus called curly top, but my guess is, excuse me, I swear I don't have COVID. My guess is, if you look down here at my pepper plants, they don't look so hot. They look small. They shouldn't look this small at this stage in the game. They're sort of yellowish. I'm working on that. Some of them look better than others. Like this plant looks better. What has happened here? So if you remember, if you go way back to the beginning, the way we started this garden is we spread out cardboard on the ground, and we came in and dropped 6 inches of compost into each of these beds, and then we put in wood chips in the middle. And this should have worked perfectly. It should have been, I mean, my garden should look amazing right now. And for most people with no-dig garden, it will. The thing is, it's all about the compost. And I did not research into it well enough before I started. Let's take a look at my compost here. This, I mean, it looks like there's an awful lot of woody material here. I mean, here's the compost, here's the wood chips. So there's an awful lot of woody material here. My guess is what has happened is the compost they sold me was composted wood chips, and there's nothing wrong with that if they've been given long enough to break down. And I do not believe that happened. And if you see, there's still some sizable chunks of wood here. Unfortunately, what happens when you have a compost or wood chips that are composting is the bacteria that do that job for you sequester all the nitrogen in the soil. They sequester all the nutrients in the soil, in fact. And about a week after I made that last video, my plants were looking really bad. Some of them are coming back through it. Others I just don't think are going to be able to make it. Like my Black Ethiopian there looks great. I'll show you some others that look like, well, this chocolate sprinkles looks pretty good. It's a little sparse, but you know, it's nice and green and healthy looking, but it's not super bushy. I don't know if this is just the variety or what. But like here, my dwarf tomatoes look awesome. This is exactly how they're supposed to look. But some of them, like that pink Berkeley tie-dye I showed you, this Amish paste, which honestly I believe that this probably is diseased, and possibly caused some of the other plants to be diseased, but I really think a lot of it was this nitrogen nutrient deficiency. So I can show you some other examples of that. Like I said, my peppers here, you know, don't look the greatest, which is really sad. I was really looking forward to a lot of bell peppers this year. This plant looks awesome. This is the plant that I started that was supposed to be a cayenne pepper plant. And, you know, I don't know if you remember from my last video, but I said I didn't think it was a cayenne pepper plant. I think it crossed with something, and I was right. So these are the peppers that are coming off of it, which is really cool. They're kind of like long, like a cayenne pepper is, but they're a lot bigger than what a cayenne pepper would be. So what I'm thinking happened is my cayenne was planted right next to a pimento type pepper, and I think that's the cross. It's pretty cool. Next door is my fish pepper here, and I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely fish pepper because it's variegated. You can see the variegation. However, the peppers, that's the pepper it's putting on. That doesn't really look like a fish pepper to me. It might still be, but it doesn't look like it. So mayhaps this crossed with the cayenne. So we've got some crossed peppers, some crossed wires going on here. This marigold, now the marigolds here, these were the bellwether that something was going wrong in the garden. I noticed these marigolds, you probably can't see it anymore, but these leaves, were going red. And I was like, what in the heck is going on? Started looking into it, and I found out that if you have red leaves on your plants, that's a sign of a phosphorus deficiency, which flowering plants need phosphorus to continue to do so. All plants need phosphorus, but that's the P and the NPK if you see on a fertilizer. So my beans are not doing so great. I think now beans you can do too. You can overdo it with nitrogen. You can overdo it with nitrogen with any plant, but beans especially, because they're nitrogen fixing, you can easily burn beans, and I burned these. They're starting to come back. I don't know, I just may scrap the whole lot and start over again. Like these peppers just kind of look yellow. And then my okra got attacked by aphids. So it's trying, it's doing its best, but again, it's small and stunted. I've got a couple okra pods off of here so far, and they are doggone tasty. This Jing Orange is absolutely delicious. I think it's better tasting than the Clemson Spineless. So you can also see, my Charente melons, one of the little seedlings withered up and died. This one is hanging on for dear life. And this one, it's here, but it's small. These leaves should be a lot bigger. And then on the other side, my cucumbers. This cucumber plant's doing okay. These others are not. And that's just nutrient deficiencies in the soil. That's what that is. Another thing that gave it away for me was my basil was turning almost completely yellow here. So I had to do a lot to this garden to get it to where it's looking now, which I think is like somewhat decent. What I did was, firstly, I came out here and I spread about 3 pounds of blood meal throughout this whole place. And then I also spread a pound and a half of bone meal for the phosphorus. Blood meal is heavy in nitrogen, but it's not super quick release. It's not like Miracle-Gro, which is, basically steroids for plants. Blood meal, I mean, it can work fast, but it's not as fast as like a granular liquid feed. So I also sprayed some fish emulsion. I watered with some fish emulsion, and that just was not getting it done. It was not getting it done. I prefer to garden organically. I don't like putting chemicals, but I was desperate. I was going to lose all my plants. So I did buy Miracle-Gro rose fertilizer. That has the highest concentration of N, P, and K of any fertilizer that's available just, at Home Depot for the general public that I could find. And, I wasn't real worried about causing any burn to my plants because I did a soil test and there was no N, P, and K in the soil. So I did 2 applications of that, and after the first application, the tomatoes started coming around. And after the second application, some of these pepper plants are looking better than others. I will say that. So, that's what I have to do this year, is I have to continue to fertilize because of this deficiency in the soil. Now next year, I found a bunch of mushrooms growing in the beds, which is really good because the mushrooms and the mycelium will help break down the wood chips that are left. So next year, this should be amazing. I'm really excited for next year. This year has been a bit of a bust. But you know, it's still producing. I still got like tomatoes coming on, so they might be a little smaller, but you know, it's something. You got to take the wins when you can. This is a win. Like, these flowers looked horrible. They look so beautiful now. They look so beautiful. So they're blooming. These are cosmos. This is double Dutch purple. They're absolutely beautiful. And then here are my zinnias. This is candy cane mix. So they're different colors. So you got one here. This one's kind of done, but it's a different color. And then you have this one. This one's absolutely beautiful. So those are blooming now, and I'm just tickled with those. And if you want to see what I'm talking about with the reddening, you can see my oregano here. There's some reddening. It's just from phosphorus deficiency. And my chamomile's starting to bloom too. So, you know, lesson well learned. If you're going to do a no-dig garden, you got to be real careful about where you source your compost from. Do not get composted wood chips. Make sure that you find out, or you ask, like, what is your compost made out of? In hindsight, I should have just gone through the landscape supply place that my mom used last year. They sell a product called Leaf Grow in bulk, which is basically, you know, yard clipping, compost leaves and yard clipping that Maryland Environmental Service does. They do it at our county here landfill with the yard trimmings that people leave for recycling. And you know, you can buy that commercially at, you know, box stores, but this place sells it in bulk. And I've used Leaf Grow for going on 10 years, and I've never been done wrong by it. I just thought I'd try this out, and you know, you live and you learn. So I will be getting some Leaf Grow to add to the beds, and I'll show you how this compost has also affected other areas of my garden. Now this is where my watermelons are supposed to be. July, you should see a lot more going on. And this is a very fertile area. This is where I planted my whole garden last year. But not much going on. I've got this one watermelon plant. That looks real good. It had a slow start. We also had some really cool days in June. It was really weird. So there's these three. I haven't pulled any of them yet. They look okay. This looks terrible. That's small. Looks okay. Excuse the weeds. I have to weed there. So I mean, that just shows you, if you don't have enough nutrients in your soil for your seedlings, they don't do that well. So I would like to show you the pièce de résistance in my garden. This is the best looking area of my garden. Here. My butternut squash. They look great. They look healthy. So I'll have some butternut squash this year, at least, which is awesome. So, you know, I hope. So you live and you learn. So if you're planning on doing a no-dig garden, which I highly recommend, I mean, I haven't had to weed this at all this year. It's been great. You just have to mind the edges because, you know, we have zoysia grass and, you know, there's some Bermuda grass in there. You just have to really mind the edges to make sure it's not infiltrating in. And I've been on top of that all summer, but I have not had to do any weeding to this. None. It's been great. Like these other garden areas here, they just get like redolent with weeds, and it's hard for me to keep on top of it. Also, this straw mulch, I do not recommend Pennington straw mulch. Weeds it does not do anything to suppress weeds at all. I like the Easy Straw by, like, I think it's Blue Rhino or Rhino, something like that. Much prefer that. Easy Straw. This golden sage is magnificent and beautiful. I am so pleased with this. I thought this was dead. And look at it. It's magnificent. I'm very happy with this. So, yeah, this is the garden. some wins, some losses. You know, this is my first year trying this method. I have really high hopes. You know, I'm gonna get what I can get out of this year, have some lessons learned, but you know, next year I think it's gonna be really, really great next year. So yeah, I've been loving this soaker hose system. As you can see, here's my regular hose, and then you know, this green hose hooks up all the soaker hoses, and you know, it's just dripping the water down. It's pretty neat, pretty cool. I enjoy it. It's very convenient. I recommend watering with soaker hoses. My marigolds are really, that's called Orange Flame. They're really pretty. But yeah, so it just shows you really got to be careful with what kind of compost that you get. So next year, probably in the fall, I will be getting some leaf grow to add to this, and I will definitely be testing before I plant next year to make sure, you know, if I need to add something, I'll do it. So I'm losing light fast. I got to tie up some of these plants. It's been good seeing you again. Sorry for waiting so long, but hopefully we will see you again real soon. All right, bye-bye.